than or equal to 12. So which number is less than 12? 11 is less than 12, right? So I'm going to go toward the 11. Good. Where do I put my circle for number 3? Open or closed? And I'm saying -4 is greater than what number? Is -4 greater than -5, or is -4 greater than -3? Good, -5, right? It's the opposite of what you think because they're negatives. You'd rather have $4 of debt than $5 of debt, right? So I'm going to go toward the -5. And remember, the number comes first, so it's the opposite direction as the inequality. Where do I draw my circle for 4? At -3, open or closed? And I'm saying x is greater than -3. Going to the right, right? Same direction as the inequality because the letter is first, right? And then what about here, our word problem? So 12 prizes were raffled off by the band to raise money, and all of the prizes were valued at $25 or more. $25 or more. That means it could be a $25 gift, a $26 gift, right? A $27 gift, a $40 gift. As long as it's more than 25, it's okay. So I know I'm definitely going to go to the right. But then what do I put at 25? An open circle or a closed circle? Closed circle, because it doesn't say more than $25. It says $25 or more. So my inequality then would be x is greater than or equal to 25. Yeah, you're going to have a quiz on Thursday. All right. So we are going to take a look. I think it's on the same side of the paper you guys are on. We're going to start talking about solving inequalities. Solving inequalities is just like solving equations. It's the exact same thing. There's only one difference, and I will tell you that difference in just a minute. But let's think about what we need to do when we solve equations. When we solve equations, we have to undo operations. Undo operations so that we can isolate the variable. To isolate the variable. Okay. So if I see an addition sign, if I see a plus sign, how do I undo addition? We subtract. To undo addition, use subtraction. I'm just going to use the symbols. So to undo plus, use minus. Okay. And therefore, to undo subtraction, what do we use? Use addition. Right? And to undo multiplication, what do we use? Division. And the opposite, to undo division, what do we do? Multiply. Okay. But when I see an equation, do I usually see something like this? Is it usually written like that when I see multiplication in an equation? How is it written? Just 4x, right? Okay. And if I have division in an equation, is it going to look like this? How is it usually written? Huh? X over 4, right? So when I see 4x, I think that's 4 times x. And the way that I undo my multiplication like that, right, I divide it. If I see something like this, right, it means divide, and I undo division by multiplying, right? Okay. So let's give it a try. Number 24 says 3x is greater than or equal to 9. So I can't just go to 9 and start graphing my graph. I got to solve for x first. I've got to get the x all by itself. How do we get the x by itself? Bless you. We have to divide, right? Because 3x means 3 times x. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. And so I have to divide by 3, not just on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side as well, right? So now on the left-hand side, my 3's cancel out, okay? And we have x all by itself. And then my inequality, most of the time, it just stays exactly the same, right? I just write it exactly as I see it, greater than. And then on the right-hand side, I just do my little division problem. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now I have x is greater than or equal to 3. Now I can graph that. How do I graph it? Where do I start? 3, open or closed? Closed circle at 3. And x is greater than 3. So which number is greater than 3? 4 or 2? 4, right? So I go to the right. Same direction as the inequality because my letter came first. Cool? Yes? Okay. Number 25 pretty much looks exactly the same. What's different about it though? Negatives. So what do I have to divide by this time? -3. Huh? So that'll make that cancel out, right? And then, yeah, I've got x over here, and on the right-hand side, it's -9 divided by -3, so that is a +3. And this is the tricky part. This is the part you have to remember, is that, let me write it in red, and you should all have this written down right here. If you multiply or divide by a negative, we have to flip the inequality, flip it the other direction. Okay? Okay? So by flip the inequality, I mean this started out as less than or equal to, so it becomes greater than or equal to. So it just flips direction. But only if we multiply or divide by a negative number. All right? Yeah, what about number 2? Let's move on to, oh, and actually first let's graph this one. So where do I start my graph for number 25? 3. And it's a closed circle, right? And x is greater than, so it is the exact same graph as the one before, right? Okay. Number 26, we've got x minus 3 is greater than -6. What's the opposite of minus 3? Plus 3. So I add 3 on the left and add 3 on the right. It is? Try again. Yeah, we've got the x over on the left-hand side. Did I multiply or divide by a negative number? No. So my inequality stays the same. -6 plus 3 is? -3. -6 minus 3 is -9. Okay, so I've got x is greater than -3. So where do I start my graph? -3. Open or closed? Open. And do I go left or do I go right? Which number is greater than -3? -4, -2? -2 is greater, right? I go to the right. Yeah. Yeah, just make the pass. All right, number 27. What does this little line mean? What does that little line mean? This little line. Yeah, that's a division sign, right? That's divide. The way I undo division is we multiply. What do we multiply by? 2. Multiply both sides by 2, because that will cancel out those 2's, and that leaves x all by itself. So x, did I multiply or divide by a negative number? No. So my inequality stays the same. And then I just multiply over here. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. And then we can go ahead and graph it. Where do I start my graph? 4, open or closed? Open. And which number is greater than 4? 5 or 3? 5. So we go this way. Okay. Does that make sense what we're doing? Okay. Let's look at 28. 28 really similar to 27, right? I'm still dividing here. Dividing by -2. So what do I need to do to undo dividing by -2? Multiply by. Good. Multiply by -2 on both sides, right? Because that cancels out these 2's and leaves x all by itself. And then on the right-hand side, I've got 2 times -2, which is what? It's waving the mic. Yeah, -4. Okay. Did I multiply or divide by a negative number? So what do I need to do? Flip the inequality. So instead of greater than, it becomes less than. Okay, that's where it gets a little funky and a little tricky. You got to be careful, okay, with those negatives. So now I have x is less than -4. Where do I start my graph? -4, open or closed? Left or right? Left. Where do you come up with these songs, Tegan? Do your parents make you listen to like 80s music? Because I feel like those are the only songs I've ever heard you sing. Music in the 80s was good. I think 60s and 70s was better though. Okay, 29. Somebody read that out loud for me. Yeah, is greater than or equal to 36. Good. What operation do you see? What operation is that? Multiplication. How do we undo multiplication? What do we have to divide by? -6. My -6's cancel. I've got x by itself. 36 divided by -6. -6. Okay. Did I multiply or divide by a negative number? Yes, I did. So what do? Flip it. Okay. So then I go on my graph. They don't give me the numbers, but I'm smart and I can figure that out, right? I can just put a couple of numbers there. And I start my graph at -6. And I color in my circle because it's less than or equal to. And I'm thinking about what number is less than -6, -7 or -5? -7, so I'm going to go to the left. Okay? Woohoo! All right, so you've got the problems to do, like just on the other half of that paper, numbers 30 through 36. Numbers 30 through 36, and that's what I'm going to grade today. And then when you finish those, I want you to flip over to the other side and work on the other side of the paper as well. All right? Clear? Good.